Hey guys, what's up? We are back with another video today, and today we are doing a Chicago Bears mock draft. Let's start off draft season as we enter into December. It is just 2 days away from December as I am filming this on November 28th. So let's get started with today's video with Notre Dame season finishing up. Now you have a bowl game in a couple of weeks. Whatever that bowl game will be, it will be announced Sunday. But either way, we will move on to that. So right now we're going to get into some mock draft stuff. We're going to start off with the Bears mock draft and move on. Make sure that you are subscribed for all this new content coming out. Like the video if you enjoy it. Comment your thoughts and opinions down below. I will respond to every single comment down below. So the Bears are at the number 2 overall pick at the moment. So let's get started. With the number 2 overall pick, I have the Bears selecting Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle out of Georgia. This, I will say, was an extremely difficult pick and a pick that can go 50-50 either way. But here's my opinion on this. It is harder to find great defensive tackles, elite defensive tackles, than it is to find elite edge rushers, and I'm comparing Will Anderson here to Jalen Carter. I really like Will Anderson. I really like Jalen Carter. I think both of them are superb players, and I think that the draft combine and all of the February and March draft stuff, that will bring out who, if the Bears do have the number 2 overall pick, whether it'll be a trade back, so that way somebody can come up and get a quarterback, which I find very likely, or whatever goes on. So I have the Bears selecting Jalen Carter. Great prospect, great defensive tackle, better than I would say Jordan Davis, who came out, or even Devontae Wyatt. Very comparable to last year's number 1 overall pick. So let's move on to pick 58. This is the Ravens' second-round draft pick as the Bears traded away their second-round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers for Chase Claypool. And with the 58th overall pick, I have them selecting Zach Harrison, the edge rusher out of Ohio State. And this is what I was talking about previously, is because I picked a defensive tackle, the Bears extremely need help at that edge rusher spot, so I decided to pick up Zach Harrison. I think that he is a pretty good edge rusher, has some solid qualities. I think the Bears really are missing right now a superb edge rusher. With no Khalil Mack and no Robert Quinn, guys like Travis Gibson and the draft pick from last year that I am forgetting his name, Dominique Robinson, the kid out of Miami of Ohio. You have a lot of solid players, but with no star potential, you do really struggle in that category. And I think that between Jalen Carter and Zach Harrison, you really do start to build up that dominance on the defensive line that you previously had. Moving on to pick number 66, I have the Bears selecting a Notre Dame center, like they have now, and Sam Mustover, sorry. I have them selecting Jared Patterson, who currently plays left guard for Notre Dame, but I think he is better as a center. But I could also see him possibly playing left guard, playing center, having that versatility to move around throughout the spot. So if Cody Whitehair gets injured, if Tevin Jenkins get injured, you can still have a great player. But I think Jared Patterson, one of the most versatile, athletic, solid player. And to be honest, I don't think he'll be here in the 6th or in the 3rd round at pick number 60. I don't think that he'll be around that long. I just don't. But I think that Jared Patterson is that elite level player that the Bears need on the offensive line, especially at the center position. Mustafa is a solid player, but not a great player overall. Probably the weakest link on that offensive line. And if this team doesn't like Tevin Jenkins, which is what I'm kind of getting the feeling with Michael Schofield getting the start in the past 2 games, you start to kind of see, does this team really like Tevin Jenkins? I think that Jared Patterson gives you the versatility to play him at center if you don't think Lucas Patrick will work out, or to play him at guard if Tevin Jenkins is not your right guard at the moment. At pick number 103, I have the Bears selecting a wide receiver. That's Parker Washington, the wide receiver out of Penn State. I know that a lot of Bears fans are going to be upset with me that not picking a wide receiver. There weren't going to be any trades in this draft in later mock drafts. If you want me to, like the video. If we get 20 likes on it, I will put out another Bears mock draft that week that I get 20 likes on it. So with this, I think that Parker Washington really does give the Bears a solid wide receiver. But here's my other thing. I think between Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney, you have two solid wide receivers, and you don't have any superb wide receivers coming out of the draft. If the Bears trade back to maybe, let's say, 6, 7 overall, I would be very happy with like a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba. There are some wide receiver prospects I would consider. Maybe the guy out of TCU and Quinnion, I think it's Johnson. There are some guys that I would consider, but at number two, and I think edge rusher is almost a bigger need than wide receiver, just because you do have some solid pieces at the wide receiver position in Claypool, in Darnell Mooney. And Claypool was your second round pick in like logical terms. You gave up a second to get him, so you don't want to use up too much draft capital in order. But also the other thing here that I'll point out is that simple fact that it is easier to get wide receivers later on in the draft and have them, Darnell Mooney for example, and have them show out rather than get them earlier, or rather than get edge rushers later in the draft or get defensive tackles later in the draft. They're not going to have as much star power as a wide receiver could, who comes later in the draft. At pick number 133, I have the Bears selecting Daylon Henley, the linebacker out of Washington State. I think the Chicago Bears need to address the linebacker situation. With no Roquan Smith, you really start to not have the linebacker depth that you need. Nicholas Morrow, he's been solid. Nothing particularly bad this year, but this is a defense that just needs to be revamped completely. So I'm going to continue to address this defensive position. And Daylon Henley, I think, really does have some skills. I don't know him too much. I have not watched much Washington State tape this year, but he's a solid player and I think could add addition to the Chicago Bears. So at pick number 139, I have the Bears selecting Stephon Gilmore, the brother to Stephon Gilmore, the younger brother, quarterback out of Marshall. The biggest reason I am picking him here is I'm a big Notre Dame fan, if you don't already know that. And Stephon Gilmore had a great game against the Irish. Has played well the rest of the season. And I think with a 5th round pick, which I believe this is 5th round, yeah. This is just a player that take a shot in the dark, see what you can get. You can always use more cornerback depth. That is never a bad thing. With Jalen Johnson being injured a couple of games this year, it's really tested the cornerback depth that the Bears have. And Brisker kind of struggling this year. Not Brisker. Kyler Gordon kind of struggling this year. Brisker's also had his struggles, but focusing on the cornerback position particularly, it's never a bad thing. I think that this is a solid player, has the NFL pedigree with his brother, maybe just some general traits of having that NFL. And again, this is a late round pick. You're taking shots in the dark, and I think that this is a pick that could pan out. Heading on to pick number 153, having him taking another wide receiver with a lot of potential, and that's Davinian Wicks. I am sure I just absolutely butchered that name, but I apologize to any Virginia fan. A wide receiver out of Virginia has had some good parts of his career, some bad parts. I think he's a big guy, big body wide receiver, late in the draft. I think he just has some potential. He's a guy that's gone up and down. Has had some good parts, has had some bad parts of his career. Solid player, but not fantastic. So I will take him in the late rounds as a shot in the dark once again. At pick number 220, I'm taking Minnesota's running back, Mo Ibrahim. I think that this is a really good running back. I think that there's a possibility the Bears don't have David Montgomery coming back next year. So with no David Montgomery, I think that it is essential that you continue to add to that core running back depth there.
And the final pick that I have is Cam Hart, the cornerback out of Notre Dame. I think he is a solid player, has good attributes, good character, and again, cornerback depth is key. That's all I have for today's video. Make sure that you hit the 2 videos down below or hit the subscribe button up here. As always, have a great day. Bye.